Bigger motorbike than my husband's, cheating wife stories, Reddit cheating stories, audio stories. While my wife and I were enjoying the magnificent spring evening on our patio, she finished her glass of wine and then proceeded to pour a second glass. This occurred while we were seated on our terrace. When I had finished blowing it out, I let out a large cloud of ice smoke and watched as it floated in the breeze that was blowing around. It is not likely that I will be going to Chicago in the near future. To Mr. Joe, as soon as I first laid eyes on her, I was taken aback. For the past 10 years, she has been going shopping in Chicago twice a year, once on Memorial Day and the other on the weekend after Thanksgiving. Both of these trips take place in Chicago. Chicago serves as the destination for each of these visits. She took pleasure in spending my money on the Magnificent Mile or wherever fashionistas went shopping during those days, and I am perplexed as to why she decided to ignore me while she was doing so. To put it another way, I do not want to do this because the children have gone out to attend college that is located elsewhere. In all honesty, I was under the impression that we could go on a trip together. I shrugged my shoulders. Chelsea, for as much as I appreciate it, I have already made plans for a golf vacation to South Carolina to take place during the days that she will be in Chicago shopping. The trip will take place during the time that she will be there. While I was away from home, I always made sure to play a round of golf. The truth is that I was aware of the fact that her trips to Chicago were not just for the purpose of shopping. She had a lover who took her shopping twice a year under the premise of spending time in Chicago. I was aware of this fact. I am able to guarantee that she did not deviate from her commitment to me in any way over the remaining months of the year. Everything was reviewed in great detail by me. That she had no intention of leaving was not something that should have come as a surprise to me. As of this moment, her lover had passed away as a result of an unsuccessful effort to loot his jewelry business 1 month ago. It would have been better for the moron to just let the guy get what he wanted and let him live out the rest of his life. This imbecile was under the impression that he could whip out a gun and murder the thief. Instead, the good guy who is armed with a gun is shot in the head before he is able to shoot the evil guy, who is being armed with a pistol. However, he was not a particularly lovely person. First and foremost, he was my spouse. One possibility is that you could call off your vacation. After shaking my head, I came to the conclusion that I would accompany you because I do not believe that my golf partner would be pleased with the situation. She murmured things to my closest friend, Aaron. I nodded and took another suck on my cigar, and a tear trickled down her cheek. Aaron, I nodded before continuing. I was wondering how long she has been with you on your travels. The realization that she had never asked me who I was traveling with before was a shock to her. She asked me who I was traveling with, and she was surprised by the question. I made the decision that I would put an end to the charade that she had begun between herself and her lover many years ago with Aaron, and she dropped her glass. When we were drinking outside, we were fortunate enough to have plastic cups, although that would not have prevented the costly Chardonnay from leaking across the table. It was fortunate that we were using plastic glasses when we were drinking because Aaron dropped her glass. She murmured things to my closest friend, Aaron. I nodded and took another suck on my cigar, and a tear trickled down her cheek. Aaron, I nodded before continuing. I let out a sigh from the very first time she sought to hide her emotions, but she was unsuccessful. I was a witness to her disappointment. Would you say that you have a relationship with her that is ongoing? This is not a permanent situation. I voluntarily stated that we only get together twice a year. In the time that you were in Chicago with her husband, we were able to keep each other company. Her sobbing became more intense, and she struggled to contain her sobs. While she attempted to pour more wine, her hands began to shake. Taking the bottle, I poured it for her. I was grateful. Have you been aware of this from the very beginning? In response, I gave a slight nod and inhaled deeply. I was prepared to talk, but I was under the impression that she would attempt to conceal her treachery by carrying on with the journey into the following year. After her beloved passed away, she did not go on a trip, which was a major warning sign. Nevertheless, she pleaded, I will not go again. In point of fact, Aaron and I had a conversation about the possibility of stopping as well. To tell you the truth, everything was different at Alan's burial. It was at that precise moment that you found yourself crying uncontrollably in front of his casket, after which you punched the casket and yelled, "Why God, why?" At that point, we made the decision to proceed with our plans for joint vacations. It is not something that I can recall, I shrugged. Most likely, you don't remember very much about what happened on that day. It should not come as a surprise when one considers the fact that you managed to complete a bottle of wine before we left the house, that you consumed 4 martinis throughout lunch, and that you continued to consume alcohol at home after that. You went to sleep earlier than expected. There was no intention on my part to treat you with disdain. It's true that I let out a hearty laugh. I missed the burial of your closest friend's husband for 10 years because you didn't want to show me any disrespect. I apologize for the inconvenience. I am sorry for the trouble that this has caused. It appears that you are experiencing delusions. What led you to believe that? My attention was drawn to the fact that she did not express any regret or ask for my forgiveness during the conversation. Well, it was a piece of cake. During the course of their talk, he shared with his wife the news that he was going to attend a diamond show that was being hosted in Chicago. It was a happy accident when it occurred for the first time, albeit it was a happy accident. Aaron, when we were having our talk, informed me that he would be out of town for a while. We invited them to a picnic, and you may or may not remember that this happened. There is a possibility that you do not remember. Following the successful placement of your order for an additional beverage, he proceeded to the restroom. The only thing that Aaron was doing was chatting with me in a meaningless manner. My wife did, in fact, shake her head in amazement, and she clapped her hands as soon as she informed me that he was going to be traveling to Chicago. Your vacation to Chicago for shopping was something I told her about. The fact that you did not invite her to participate was a surprise to her, and at that same time, we realized why you did not invite her. I had the impression that we had done a wonderful job of concealing everything. In response to Alan's frequent travels, I shrugged. In point of fact, you weren't very careful at all. On the other hand, you need to have picked a location that truly had a diamond show. And to believe that you could go on a trip with her spouse on the same weekend twice a year, every year, and not cause us to set off alarm bells in our thoughts was just plain foolish. No words were ever said by you. All seemed to be in order, in our opinion. It's as simple as your haughtiness and lack of respect. When Aaron and I went on our vacations, neither you nor Alan cared to inquire about who we were traveling with. We were all taken aback by it. Due to the fact that you did not care about this matter at all, you never once questioned the actions of your foolish husband. It is not true, she whispered in a low voice. Considering that we never considered the likelihood that you were going to go together, this is a peculiar occurrence. Chelsea, we were under the impression that we had been taken into custody 3 years ago. It appears that your flights have been delayed. A frown was on her face. A small nod was given by me. It never occurred to me that the snowstorm was the reason that you both stayed overnight, but she went on to explain that we stayed for one more day instead of leaving till the next day. Can you imagine that Aaron and I were so worried that we almost chose to cancel our trip for Memorial Day the following year? Are you able to believe it? On the other hand, you and Alan decided to carry on with your plans as if nothing had happened and acted as if nothing had taken place. To you, Joe, your question is very good. Due to the fact that I am being entirely truthful, I intend to file for divorce after you embarrassed me at the party. She let out a muffled sigh. Oh, I beg you, please don't let on that you are so surprised right now. During the time that you were breaking your vows, my loyal wife Erin and I were able to comfort each other, which enabled us to tolerate your indiscretions. This allowed us to continue our relationship. For some reason, the idea that you would develop affections for this never occurred to me. It was not immediately apparent that this particular component of it had taken place. I am sincerely sorry for this. When she finally broke down into tears, she raced into the house and screamed it out. I sent Erin a text message, and the situation was handled. Immediately, she showed her response to the situation. My intention is to wait. While taking a few deep breaths, I tucked the phone into my pocket and inserted the cigar into the ashtray before proceeding with the conversation. The fact that Chelsea fell in love with her regular lover was not something that only she experienced, other people did as well. For the time being, Chelsea is not going to be a part of the organization of the remainder of my life, which is something that needs to be done. A number of subscribing to our channel is something you should do if you want to make certain that your second chaff does not cheat on you. You should also make it a point to listen to the story that follows after this one, since the one that comes after it is very different from the one that you are currently listening to. Should you be younger than 18 years old, you should not even contemplate listening to the one that is about to be presented to you.